Simply put, alchemy is the art and science of transformation. Science even tells us today that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form, which is to say, transform. Now, if alchemy is the art and science of transformation, and energy is constantly in a state of transformation, suddenly alchemy takes forefront as something that we need to understand energy. And the last time I looked, everything is composed of energy. It kind of makes sense, at least, to have a foundational understanding of the way that energy transfers. And we can prove this as alchemists. We can demonstrate this with everything that we do on any level, whether we're working with the material in the lab, or a corresponding psychological material, or an aspect of a weakness where we need to apply discipline, or whether to an aspect of our body, like our liver, or other aspects where we're hurting them, degrading them. We can begin to perform alchemy to these processes, or we can begin to transform these processes by understanding the pattern that nature uses. Alchemy in nature, left to its own devices, creates a very slow and latent process of transformation, and that we could define as evolution. Now, evolution and transformation are essentially the same thing, except that transformation, transmutation if you want to call it, is a consciously assisted evolution, in the words of Frater Albertus, or we can also say it's a direct method to hyper-evolution, which means that you can take the natural evolutionary capacity and speed it up multiple times. With alchemical knowledge, with alchemical skill, with understanding the processes that are necessary and how we begin to work with materials, first starting with water and herbs and moving our way up to, say, some animal materials like egg yolks if desired, which can make very powerful medicines, by the way, working in the mineral realm, and ultimately with metals, which are, in alchemical terms, pure crystallized methodologies, or pure crystallized forms, I should say, of consciousness. You have the opportunity to see how you can transmute anything by separating it and perfecting it and recombining it. Alchemy is so multifaceted because it's not necessarily a philosophy, it's not necessarily a religion, it's not necessarily any of those things. People have made it that throughout the years. They always put their own spin on it, and even in a way, I guess I'm putting my own spin on it. But I guess what I can say is that when we get behind the value system of each alchemist, and we begin to notice what the principles are of alchemy in general, we begin to see that everything is structured alchemically in the universe, and that it already makes sense. It has a viable method of how to work with it, how to transform it, how to set it into a catalog, a filing cabinet of experiences in your world on a multidimensional level. Physical, astral, we could say causal or mental level of causations, and then truly spiritual, or some people call that the etheric realm. Either way, we begin to understand all of our experiences on a multidimensional level and at least have a cataloging system for it. And, so alchemy, when we get right down to the heart of it, shows us how to transform anything and everything by not necessarily showing you how to work with an herb, but by working with the herb, showing you what is necessary as an archetypal process to transform a material that you are working with. And because you understand that everything is fractal and holographic, meaning that this piece of leaf contains the same identity of unity that you do, and somehow by being able to observe that, because even quantum science tells us that observation is creation, as you begin to observe, you as the observer, the material as the observed, begin to share the similarities in the processes that you see. And this is just inherent in the work. As the material begins to unfold, your psyche begins to unfold. You begin to mirror the things in your natural world. And all of the great philosophies have said this anyway. It's just that alchemy, its popularity in the modern day, really derives around the fact that it offers one a direct method to experiencing that existential unity, that mystical understanding that everybody seeks. It now becomes practical, and by so doing, you have the psychological and the psychic faculties now where you can begin to see and develop the construct of the universe and its patterns, and you know how to categorize it, and before long, you will have followed in nature's footsteps so much that you will begin to see what nature herself does. And by seeing what nature does and replicating it faster, bringing it to a greater exaltation, is one of the most amazing aspects that mankind has available to really exalt nature, to be in selfless stewardship towards nature, to bring her to her ultimate potential. There have been a lot of different motives for alchemy in the past, but if I have anything to say about it, the motive for alchemy in the 21st century will be a return to the stewardship to nature, to begin to reverse any of the wrongs, based on our misunderstandings, by the way. Let's not focus any blame on this. Let's just begin to right the wrongs that currently exist, and we have the technology, we have the ability to do that. And alchemy can teach us how, and it can connect you back with nature while utilizing technology, utilizing the creativity and the cunning nature of mankind, hand in hand with the capacity and the hyper-evolutionary capacity, primarily, of the alchemical tradition. These two things can be married, and these two things will bring about not only an evolution of mankind and our psychology and our ecology, but the entire ecology of everything.